Hi there, this is Sheena Carroll with the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and you are watching, listening, or reading 40 Stories. Today I'm with Kevin Murphy of Greenshaw Consulting. Thank you so much for coming today.
Of course, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Sheena.
Yeah, can you tell me more about Greenshaw and what you do?
Yeah, so at Greenshaw Consulting, we help founders and entrepreneurs get their nights and weekends back by providing project management and product development services. So we help to build and run project and product teams so that the founders and exec team can focus more on kind of building their organization strategically instead of kind of being down in the weeds.
Gotcha. That's a lot of how do you handle that process, or what is your approach?
Yeah, and so I have a framework, but it's very high level because every organization, every client that I work with is different. How long they've been around, the industry that they're in, but the biggest variable is always the people, and so you have to customize it to the individuals within the organization to make things work. What works for one engineering team, you might have to switch things up for another software group. So from the executives to the development, tech folks, it's all independent for every single client.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So Greenshaw is based in Glenshaw, correct?
Yes.
And also based in Glenshaw is your brewing endeavor.
Yeah, so Aspire Brewing Company was founded by the other owners, Greg and Eric. They opened their doors February 2020 in a very small location. The license was all to go. So of course we know what happened around March 2020, but it worked out pretty well for them. It leveled the playing field because we didn't have a tap room at the time. And so we all go to the same church, Bethlehem Evangelical Lutheran Church in Glenshaw. And so I knew them enough to say hello, but Greg, our brewer, makes really great beer. And so my wife and I became some of their biggest customers during the pandemic. Just go in and do growler fills. And then I started to volunteer there on the weekends just for fun, to do something different. They knew what I did for my day job with Greenshaw Consulting and thought it'd be helpful for the business as they were growing. And so I joined the ownership group a couple years ago, and that's been kind of my nights and weekends thing in addition to the day job.
Oh, so you just are always keeping busy.
Yes, yeah. So luckily I have a very supportive wife, Katie. She's a great support system and helps out on the home front, make sure we have 3 boys. So she's always hustling them around to different things, and I try to get out to them as much as I can too. But she's been incredibly supportive of both businesses.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned earlier, you work with a variety of different companies, so you do have to take different approaches. But I feel like that probably also gives you a really good perspective on kind of the ecosystem of tech in Pittsburgh. So I was wondering what your thoughts were on what you see the future of tech in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, just to see the growth, within the last, 5, 10, 15 years in the tech scene in Pittsburgh has been pretty incredible. And I think it's just going to continue to accelerate from there. We've seen some industries, really take off, and Pittsburgh has been known for, now healthcare and robotics. So I think the future is going to be that we're going to see some other industries start to become hubs here in Pittsburgh. And we've seen space now, the space industry in Pittsburgh, which I didn't see coming 5 or 10 years ago. So I think it's going to be growing and expanding into other industries. And keeping Pittsburgh at its own thing. We don't have to be like Silicon Valley or New York or Boston. I think we're going to maintain our Pittsburgh roots and toughness and grit and resilience, but continue to grow that tech scene, and hopefully for all of Pittsburgh, not just the CMU and Pittsburgh grads, but the entire community, and make sure that we have jobs and resources for everybody in Pittsburgh.
Awesome. All right, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
Why did you join the Tech Council?
Good question. So I only joined about a year ago, and I think the only reason I waited that long is just imposter syndrome. Look at all these amazing companies, both big and small, young and old, doing these incredible things. And so when I started off almost 6 years ago, it was just me. And I was just a little hesitant to join this amazing organization. I knew about it. I've been to some events. And so eventually I said, hey, I've been around for a while. I've worked with some of these companies. I know I can help them. And so I joined the Tech Council to help build some of these relationships with the council staff and members. They're incredible, and they're always very supportive and helpful and willing to make introductions. And so I'm just a part of the council to make those relationships, and if I can help somebody, great, and it might be just steering them to somebody else that I know or have worked with that can help them if they have a need, that I can know somebody that can help them, or if I can directly help them, then great. But it's all about just supporting that Pittsburgh tech ecosystem and helping everybody to rise.
That's great. Yeah, one of our big focuses is building those relationships. So I'm so glad that you are part of that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being part of the Tech Council, and thank you for doing 40 stories with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Sheena.